All right. Hello, everybody. We are about to get started. If you want to see how I'm growing a $25,000 account into $1 million, then you are in the right place because that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about here today. People are still getting connected to this webinar, to this live stream. We want to make sure that the technologies are getting everybody connected okay here, getting audio set up. So give this just a few more seconds. This is an exciting topic. I don't want anyone to miss out. So let's just give this a few more seconds here and make sure we are live everywhere. All right, everything is looking good. So let's go ahead and get started here. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me here today. In the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about my journey of growing a $25,000 account into $1 million. So that's my goal, to show you exactly how I'm investing my own money. And if you stay until the end, you're going to learn how to copy me, even if you know little to nothing about investing. Does that sound good? Well, who am I and why should you even care what I have to say? Well, my name is Eric Hagan, and 2023 marks 20 years I've been helping people invest their life savings in the stock market. I am a fully licensed and fully regulated financial advisor. I abide by a set of fiduciary standards, and I always put the best interests of my clients first. If you Google broker check Eric Hagan, you can get all of the details. Broker check is a tool that shows you any regulated financial advisor's employment history, certifications, licenses, as well as any violations. I'm also a small business owner and president of the independent wealth management firm Capital Consulting Group here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area. I've been awarded numerous top advisor awards, 5-star wealth manager awards, been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Twin Cities Business, Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine. I've been asked to share my experience with hundreds of other advisors from all across the country. I got into this business right out of college. It's all I've ever done ever since. I received my degree from Bethel College, now Bethel University in St. Paul. On a more personal side, I met my wife Kelly at Bethel, and now we live in the Twin Cities with our 8 kids. Now, I'm very proud of my family, but I share this with you so that you know that I get it. I understand. I know that life is busy, and I know that it's hard, if not impossible, to give your life savings the attention it deserves all on your own. If you are a busy professional, if you don't have the time, or if you would rather just spend your time doing something other than managing your life savings, then this short message is for you. Now, as we get started, there are a few things that I've learned over the past 20 years that I want to share with you. The first one I want to share with you is that when investing, what is comfortable will rarely be profitable. Have you ever heard the saying, no pain, no gain? Well, that applies to investing as well. There are no guarantees when it comes to investing. The way that I invest means that I can see big swings in the value of my account. It goes up and it goes down. And if you're looking for more of a sure thing, then what I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes is not for you. So that's number one. Number two, I've also learned that there is only one kind of investment advice that actually matters. There are many places that you can get investment advice. You can get it from TV, you can get it from radio, from the newspaper, from social media, a big one these days. You can get it from subscribing to email newsletters. You can get it from friends and family members. But there's one thing that all of these on the screen have in common. None of them take you and your unique situation into account. None of them know your financial situation and how their investment advice can impact your financial future. None of them are accountable to you. And that is why the only investment advice that actually matters is the kind that is accountable to you. So that's number two. And then lastly, I've learned that if you don't know what your investments cost, you're probably paying too much. You see, most of the financial services industry is made up of products, and all the big firms are fighting hard to get you to buy them. Here's what I mean. Let's take a look at mutual funds, a very popular investment product. Most people understand that there is a cost, something called an expense ratio, that the mutual fund company charges for its management of the fund. But there are other costs that are kind of more below the surface. They're very hard to determine and can be even harder to calculate. There are things like transaction costs and tax costs. There's something called cash drag and soft dollar costs. And all of these are in addition to any financial advisor fees, commissions, sales loads, and more. Now, I have several resources that puts the total annual costs of many mutual funds to be between 3 and 4% per year, and that's before you add in the cost of a financial advisor. Think about this. If you have a $100,000 account and you are invested in mutual funds, then your cost could run up to $3,000 to $4,000 or more every single year. How much is that going to be over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years? Don't believe me? Google it. A simple Google search yielded results like this on the very first page. Things like how mutual fund trading costs hurt your bottom line, the mutual fund fees we don't talk about, uncovering hidden costs of mutual fund investing, shedding light on invisible costs, trading costs in mutual funds. The list goes on. I've spent the past 20 years talking with individual investors, taking apart their existing portfolios, putting them back together. I've literally had thousands of conversations with investors over my career. And I can tell you, not a single person I have ever talked to knew that these additional costs even existed. This means today you get to tap into all of those conversations that I've had in just the next few minutes. You don't have to do for the next 10 years or more what I've done for the past 20. Are you actually paying more than you think? If you don't know what you're paying, you might be. So these are the things that I've learned. Next, let's look at what you're going to learn today. Specifically, there are three things that I'm going to teach you today. Number one, how to avoid all those internal expenses of mutual funds and annuities, even those hidden ones, without paying a commission, load, sales charge, or hidden cost ever again. We're going to talk about the weird, almost backwards investing secret for growing almost any kind of an account, whether you have an IRA, a Roth IRA, an individual or joint account, old 401ks, trusts, and more. And then third, we're going to talk about the three essential ingredients required for all investment success. And if even one of these three is missing, failure is guaranteed. So let's start with number one. Remember, investment products like mutual funds and annuities have internal expenses and costs that are hard to understand, hard to calculate, and hard to truly know. Mutual funds can easily cost 3% or more each year, and annuities can easily be over 5%. So that's the first step that really makes what I'm going to talk about different. I'm not going to show you the next mutual fund to own or any type of an annuity. What we're going to talk about is not any kind of pooled investment like a REIT, limited partnership, business development company, or otherwise. It does not tie your money up. It does not have a surrender period. What we're about to talk about is not a product to buy from some big investment or insurance company trying to sell you something. Instead, we're going to get back to what the heart of investing in the stock market really is, and that is investing in individual companies, in individual stocks. When you own shares of individual stocks, there are no internal expenses, none. Investing in individual stocks, again, has no internal expenses or costs. Now, to do this, I use a special type of an account that allows for unlimited trading for one flat fee. This means that I can buy, sell, trade as much as I want, and the cost is one flat fee. No commissions, loads, sales charges, or otherwise. This single fee covers everything. Now, we call it Contour because it works for just about any kind of an account, and every account is separate and unique from the others. My account that I'm talking about today is a regular taxable account, but you can use it for IRAs, Roth IRAs, individual like mine, joint accounts, trust accounts, simple IRAs, and others. So that's number one, how to avoid all the internal expenses of mutual funds and annuities, even the hidden ones, without paying a commission, load, sales charge, or hidden cost ever again. Next, we're going to talk about the weird, almost backwards investing secret for growing just about any kind of an account. So, what is this secret? This secret is to have a strategy. A strategy is a lot like a blueprint when you're building a new home. This blueprint tells you what materials to order to build the home and how much each is needed. An investment strategy tells you what to invest in, how much to invest in, and when to make a change. A strategy is a repeatable process that can be done over long periods of time. It means that what I invest my money in is not based on my gut feeling or what I think is going to do well. It allows us to remove the emotion from investing and replace it with discipline. So, again, when it comes to investing, a strategy helps you know what to invest in and when to make a change. Would you like to see the strategy that I'm using for my own money? Well, today I'm investing in 30 individual stocks. And what I'm going to show you next is my strategy for picking those 30 stocks to be invested in. Did you know that there are more than 6,000 individual stocks that you can invest in on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ? Now, some of these companies will be here and doing well many years from now. Some will be gone or fall out of favor much sooner. Because I am an investor and not a trader, what I want to do is identify those companies today who will be around and doing well for many years into the future. To do this, I want you to think of stocks or companies as being like a medieval castle. The same way that a moat protected castles, there are certain characteristics companies can have that protect their ability to be and remain profitable. The more a company can protect its ability to be and remain profitable, the more they have a long term, sustainable competitive advantage. I want to invest in companies with a wide economic moat around them. So, to find those companies with a wide economic moat around them, what I do is I go to Morningstar. Morningstar is the world's largest investment research firm for financial advisors. Now, currently, Morningstar has a team of over 100 analysts whose sole job is to look at all those 6,000 companies and rank them based on their moat. Some companies or stocks have no moat, some have medium moat, and some have a wide moat. At last count, these analysts identified 311 companies as having a wide moat, meaning they determined these 311 companies would have a sustainable competitive advantage for at least the next 20 years. Now, 311 stocks is far too many to try to invest in my account. So we need to filter these 311 companies down to a much more manageable amount of just 30. So to do this, the next thing that I did is I hired my own chief investment officer. His name is Tom. Tom has over 35 years in the investment business. On the screen here is his resume. Some notable points at his previous firm, he managed over $1.5 billion. He presented his proprietary research to the Federal Reserve Board's Investment Committee. So as you look down that list, you can see he does have a very impressive resume. What Tom does, though, is he goes through those 311 wide economic moat stocks, and the first thing he looks for are those ones that are less expensive than the others. If you've ever heard the saying, buy low, sell high, this is what he's working to do. He does this by searching for those stocks that are trading at a discount. And he looks for those that are gaining momentum in the markets. Have you ever heard the saying that a body in motion tends to stay in motion? Well, the idea here is similar in that a stock in motion tends to stay in motion. And after this rigorous filtering process is done, Tom is able to boil those 311 wide moat stocks down to just 30 individual names. And these are the individual companies, the individual names, the individual stocks that I'm investing my own money in my own account. Now, over time, these stocks that I'm invested in can and will change. And that is because this is an ongoing process. This is not something that is done once and I just sit on them. This process is re-reviewed on a regular basis. When companies that I own no longer meet this filtering process, they are sold and they are replaced with ones that do. So, does it work? Well, here's what I can say. Over the past 5 years, as of January 1st of 2023, the S&P 500, as represented by the Spider S&P 500 ETF fund, which is an index that many people use to measure how the stock market is doing in general. Well, that S&P 500 ETF was up 55.1%. That means that if you had put $10,000 in it 5 years ago, you would have earned $5,507 on your money. Now, over this exact same time frame, these 30 stocks, these 30 wide moat stocks that Tom filtered down from those 311, these 30 stocks as a whole have gone up in value by 123.9%. This means that if you had put $10,000 in these 30 stocks 5 years ago, they would have given you a gain of $12,391. All this in just 5 short years. Now, if you want to know exactly which stocks these are, be sure to stick around until the end and I'll explain how you can get a list of them. And remember, if you have an IRA, Roth IRA, simple IRA, old 401ks out there, or regular investment accounts, I'll also show you how you can copy me and invest in these stocks in any or all of your accounts, even if you know little to nothing about investing. Now, moving on, I actually want to take my strategy one step further. You see, another important thing about this strategy is that sometimes the markets go through periods where it is better to not be invested at all. Let me explain. Now, obviously, none of us were alive in 1900, but let's say that you were able to put $200 in the market in that S&P 500, for instance, in 1900, and you left that money alone until 2022. In 2022, you'd have an account valued at over $17 million. However, if you had invested that same $200 in 1900, and instead of staying in the market the whole time, you missed just the 30 best months during those 122 years, meaning you did not get the good returns of those 30 best months. You obviously would not have $17 million, but you might be surprised to learn that you would only have $578,000. Now, with this type of information, it's no wonder Wall Street has preached buy and hold as the way to outperform. And you might be thinking $17 million sounds pretty good to me. What I'm here to share with you, however, is the whole story. You see, if you had taken the same $200 from 1900 to 2022, you didn't buy and hold, you didn't miss the 30 best months, but instead you missed just the 30 worst months, you wouldn't have $17 million. You wouldn't have $578,000. Instead, you'd have more than $45 million. Let's look at the same thing, but over a much shorter time period. Let's say that you invested $2,000 and you had put that $2,000 in that S&P 500 in just the year 2000. Well, in 2022, your $2,000 would have grown to just over $8,000. However, if you had invested that same $2,000 in the year 2000 and missed just the 10 best months during those 22 years, meaning you did not get the good returns of those 10 best months, you would not have $8,000. Instead, you just have a little bit over $4,000. Now, if you had taken the same $2,000 from 2000 to 2022, you didn't buy and hold, you didn't miss the 10 best months, but instead you missed just the 10 worst months, you wouldn't have $8,000, you wouldn't have $4,000. Instead, you'd have more than $26,000. I think this illustration helps explain Warren Buffett's two rules for investing. His two rules are rule number one, don't lose money. And rule number two, don't forget about rule number one. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, but is it even possible to miss the worst times in the markets? And the answer is a little bit complicated. What I can say is that it is harder to be in the right time, it is harder to be in the right place at the right time than it is to avoid being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here's kind of what I mean. Let's say you sit down to play poker, and on the very first hand of the game, are the odds of being dealt a royal flush high or low? It's low, right? Did you know that the odds are actually 1 in 649,740? To put that into perspective, if you were dealt 20 hands every night over your lifetime, you could expect to get a royal flush one time. Now let's say that you're outside, maybe you're golfing. You see a lightning storm coming. Are the odds of you being struck by lightning high or low? It's low, right? Why are the odds low? Because if you see the lightning storm coming, you can just go inside, right? So what's easier, being in the right place at the right time or avoiding being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Let's do it again. Is it easy to win the lottery? No, otherwise everyone would do it, right? But if you're going to build a new home and you don't want that new home to flood, should you build your home on a floodplain? No, because when it floods, your house would be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what's easier, winning the lottery or deciding not to build a new home on a floodplain? I believe the same thing about investing. It is hard to pick the next huge stock winner before it is a huge stock winner than it is to know when the overall markets are getting ready for a pullback. And that's why sometimes the best offense is a good defense. We watch the markets every day and we monitor a number of different resources to help us identify if it would be wise to sell some or all of my stocks and go to cash, all in order to protect my account value. So that's my process. Instead of trying to pick the next hot stock, we have a strategy for what to invest in, when to make a change, and when to get out of the way. So that's number two. Finally, number three, the three essential ingredients required for all investment success. And you're going to see that if even one is missing, failure is guaranteed. The first ingredient that we need is an account that we put money or capital into. You need something to start with, and you also need to add to it. So remember, I have my own Contour account where I get unlimited trading for one flat fee, and I put money in it. I put $25,000 of my own money into this account, and I'm also adding $100 per month to it. So that's ingredient number one. The next thing that you must have is time. And this is such an important component. And in my case, for my unique situation, this is money I plan on leaving alone for a long time. And I'm going to show you 30 years. Now, I'm tapping into the principles of time in the market, not timing the market. And then the last ingredient that we have to have is a return or an ROI or return on investment. Now, I don't know what my average return will be in the future. I'm going to show you what 12% per year looks like. Something to know when we look at projections is that it is very rare to hit the average anyway. It's kind of like telling someone who's never been to my state, Minnesota, that the average temperature is 50 degrees. Telling them that would not give them a good idea of what to expect if they were to visit. In the winter, it gets well below zero. Summers are beautiful, getting into the 80s and even the 90s. So again, the average is 50, but it's very rare that the temperature is actually 50. The same thing can be said about investing. Sometimes the markets are up, sometimes the markets are down, and over time we can determine the average, but it's very rare we actually get the average. I believe that in the future, when we look back, a 12% average return is not out of the question. And if that is the case, when you do the math, $25,000 today plus $100 a month for 30 years at 12% per year, the ending balance is a bit over $1 million. This is the magic of compound interest. By me just setting aside $61,000 of my own money, I'm projecting to grow it over $996,000. Now, the one thing we know is that if you change any one of these three components, you change the end result. Let's say you have $100,000 saved today, and you can add that same $100 a month that I'm adding, but you only have 20 years until you need the money. Well, at the same average return, you too would end up with over $1 million. Or maybe you're closer to retirement. Maybe you have $250,000 today. You're in your higher earning years, and you can add $1,000 a month, but you've only got 10 years to grow the account. Well, if that sounds more like you'd end up with just over $1 million as well. The amount of money you have, the amount of time you can give it to grow, and the return you get, these things are all unique to each of us. If you change any one of these three components, you change the end result. Okay, so we just learned these three things: how to avoid all the internal expenses of mutual funds and annuities. We learned the weird, almost backwards investing secret for growing just about any kind of an account. And we learned the three essential ingredients required for all investment success. In other words, we learned the principles of investing in individual stocks, having a repeatable process, a strategy for what to buy and when to make a change. This process removes the emotion and replaces it with discipline. And then lastly, we learned that we need to set money aside and give it time to grow. So that is how I am working every day to grow my own $25,000 account to $1 million. And my invitation to you is to follow along on my journey at investlikeeric.com. On a regular basis, I'm posting updates. I'll share what the balance of my account is. When it's time to make trades, I'll show you what I'm selling, what I'm buying. I'll share performance updates. And the next time we decide to sell everything and go to safety, I'll post an update for that too. Now, you might be watching this years after I got started, and that's okay. You can go back and watch my journey from the beginning. I am putting it all out there. So again, after today's presentation, if you haven't already, I invite you to visit me online at investlikeeric.com, see where I'm at in my journey from $25,000 to $1 million, and absolutely subscribe to my email list so that you can get notified when I post a new update. Now, I promised that if you stayed until the end today, I'd show you how you can easily copy me, even if you know little to nothing about investing. And that's really what makes this so different. Again, 2023 marks 20 years I've been helping people invest their money in the stock market. And a simple request I have received numerous times over the years is, Eric, can you just invest my money the same way you invest your own? And the answer is yes. I can invest your life savings the same way I invest my own money. I will invest your account in the same 30 stocks I'm invested in today. If I sell any of those stocks, I'll also sell the same ones in your account. If I buy new stocks in my account, I'll buy the same new stocks in your account. If I decide to sell everything and go to safety because I think there's a bigger downturn coming, I'll do the same thing in your account. When your account gets billed that fee, I'll bill my account the same fee, and I'm going to give mine to charity. I will invest your life savings the same way I invest my own. Here's how it works. Remember earlier I told you about my unique Contour account, that one that I pay one flat fee for unlimited trading? Well, we can open the same type of an account for you. This is your own separate account. Your money is not combined or commingled with anyone else. You get your own statements, your own tax forms, your own reporting, your own 24/7 online access, and more. And this is where it gets really, really cool. Remember the wide moat castle strategy I explained earlier? Anytime Tom and I make changes to the strategy, those same changes are made in each of our accounts at the same time automatically. This means that if the strategy says it's time to sell a particular stock and buy a new one, that stock is sold in both my account and in your account at the same time and replaced with the new one in my account and your account automatically at the same time. So think about all the different types of accounts that you have, whether you have money saved up in an IRA, a Roth IRA. Maybe you have old 401ks that you forgot about at previous employers, or an individual or jointly owned taxable account. Maybe you have savings held direct with mutual fund companies. There are a lot of ways this can work for you. You can have your own contour account for just about any or all of these types of accounts. Maybe you have $25,000 in a Roth IRA. Maybe you have $250,000 in a regular IRA. Perhaps you have several old 401ks out there. My team and I can help you consolidate them and have them invested the same way I'm investing my own money. We have many clients we are doing this for with multi-million-dollar account values. So if that sounds like you, this can work for you too. But we also work with many people with much smaller amounts saved. And if that sounds like you, we want you to know that this can work for you too. And we look forward to the opportunity to show you how. So if you have $25,000 in a single account, or you have 250,000, 2.5 million, or 25 million in many different accounts, I will invest your life savings the same way I invest my own money. So if you are at all interested in having me do this, then here's what happens next. In a minute, I'm going to point you to a pre-qualification survey. The strategy that I use for my own money is not right for everyone, and this is important. I have to abide by a fiduciary standard. Remember, I am a fully licensed and fully regulated financial advisor. Your time is valuable, and I don't want to waste it. So the next thing that you need to do is take a short online pre-qualification survey. After you take that survey, that questionnaire, and if you do pre-qualify, you'll then be taken directly to a web page with my personal calendar on it. And you'll be able to schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting with me. Now, as soon as you schedule this meeting, you will be sent a confirmation email. And in that email, attached to that email, will be a list of the exact stocks that I'm invested in right now. So if you wanted to know what those stocks are, I'll be able to send it to you as part of that email. Now, at this Zoom meeting, our agenda will be to do three things. Number one, answer any questions that you have. We covered a lot today, and what I'm offering is very unique. I have not heard of anyone else doing this, so I'm sure you have questions. Second, we'll discuss your personal situation and come up with a game plan unique to you and your personal situation. We'll look at any and all of the different kinds of accounts that you have. Again, whether you have IRAs, Roth IRAs, individual or joint accounts, money held directly with mutual funds, trust accounts. We can even help you convert and maybe consolidate old 401k accounts into an IRA. You are unique, and there's no one size fits all plan. And then lastly, I'll explain how we actually implement your plan. I'll share with you the process for getting you from where you are now to where you want to be based on that personalized plan. My team and I are here to help you every step of the way, and we want to make any changes as easy and pain-free for you as possible. So with that, I'm going to point you over to my website, www.investlikeeric.com. There is a pre-qualification button that will take you to that survey, that questionnaire. Click on that button. See if you qualify. And if you do, grab a spot on my calendar for this short Zoom call. Again, one-on-one with me personally. So that concludes today's presentation. I thank you for spending some time with me here today. I hope this presentation helped you see a different way of doing things. And I sincerely hope to see you on my calendar very, very soon. So again, head on over to investlikeeric.com, click on that pre-qualification survey, and I'll look for you very soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.